Most videos call these cars bargains because they depreciated. That is not the real story right now. The real story is that buyer attention moved somewhere else and left a handful of premium cars mispriced in plain sight. In a market this expensive, that kind of neglect is gold. Here's the loophole car in this list. The 2017 to 2019 Kia Cadenza was never priced by the American market the way it actually drove. It gives you that quiet, roomy, expensive feeling, full-size sedan experience people usually expect from an entry luxury badge, but the logo on the hood kept scaring away the prestige crowd. Underneath, though, it is not pretending to be anything weird or complicated. You get a 3.3-liter V6, 290 horsepower, and an 8-speed automatic. It runs on regular fuel, EPA numbers sit around 20 city, 27 to 28 highway, 23 combined, and real-world owner tracking often lands in the mid-20s. That is a very fair trade when the whole point of this car is calm, comfort, and effortless cruising. The buyer mistake here is treating it like a discount sports sedan. That misses the whole point. This thing is for the person who wants used Camry money to buy a near-luxury commute. And quick pause here, because this matters if you actually shop cars like this. Keep a portable compressor and a basic toolkit in the trunk. Seriously. One low tire, weak battery moment, or loose terminal can turn a smart used car buy into a dumb roadside headache, and those are two cheap things that save you way more than they cost. Back to the car itself, the inspection starts with recall history, not paint shine. Make sure the HECU fire risk recall was done, make sure the brake recall work was done, test the rear camera, watch for lazy transmission behavior, look at tire wear. Comfortable cars are dangerous that way because they can hide neglect better than a rough driving car can. And then you get to the punchline, price. Right now, clean Cadenzas are living in that low 11s to high teens zone. And a lot of 2018 examples still land right in the $13,000 to $16,000 or $17,000 pocket. That is exactly why this car belongs in this video. Kelley Blue Book literally places it between mainstream and luxury, says it delivers the comfort, quietness, and refinement of a premium full-size sedan, and owner sentiment has stayed unusually strong, including 100% recommendation on KBB's 2018 owner reviews and a 5 out of 5 reliability score from Cars.com consumers. The downside is obvious. Front-wheel drive, no badge flex, no bragging rights. But for the buyer who cares more about how a car feels at 70 miles an hour than how a badge looks in a parking lot, the Cadenza is pure gold. And the next one takes that forgotten premium idea in a completely different, much more old-school American direction. Some cars get cheap because they disappoint people. The 2018 to 2020 Lincoln Continental got cheap because America stopped rewarding this kind of car. That is a very different story. This was Lincoln trying to build a real, modern American flagship. Long, elegant, quiet, plush, and completely uninterested in pretending to be a sports sedan. Kelley Blue Book basically frames it that way too. It says the Continental is for luxury lovers, not G-force junkies. And honestly, that is exactly why it makes sense in this video. The market wanted something flashier or sharper. Lincoln built something calmer. And now that mismatch has turned into your opportunity. This is the sedan for the buyer who still wants presence. Not speed first, not badge hierarchy, presence. You pull up somewhere in a Continental, and people still assume it cost real money. That is why the resale feels almost disrespectful. A 2018 can start in the mid-teens. A lot of 2019 cars still live in the high teens. And even 2020s often sit in the 20s instead of the kind of number people mentally attach to a full-size flagship. Owners liked them a lot more than the market did, too. KBB shows 88% recommendation on the 2018, and Cars.com shows about 95% recommendation with a 4.8 out of 5 reliability score. Now here is the trade-off. You do not buy this car for fuel economy or razor-sharp handling. You buy it because even the base 3.7-liter V6 gives you 305 horsepower, the twin-turbo 2.7 makes 335, and the top twin-turbo 3.0 makes 400 horsepower, all through a 6-speed automatic. Depending on engine, you are generally looking at roughly 19 to 21 combined, and real owners do report better numbers when the driving is mostly relaxed highway work. That is the Continental in one sentence. It rewards the person who likes distance, silence, and rich seats more than the person who wants to attack an on-ramp. Inspection advice matters here. Check the door latch recall. Check the early brake hose recall. Make sure the cameras are clear and the sync system behaves properly, because Lincoln also had programs for foggy cameras, and a 2025 recall hit certain 2019 to 2020 cars for sync software that could create a blank rear view image in reverse. Then do the simple luxury car test. Every seat function, every screen, every climate control input, every soft close type feature mindset. Because with a Continental, the whole value story depends on the atmosphere working. When it does, this thing feels like a car America should have appreciated a lot more than it did. And the next sedan on this list hides its luxury in a much quieter, much more Scandinavian way. Quick favor, my friend. If this is helping you shop smarter, tap like and subscribe. And drop your city in the comments so we can keep these price breakdowns real for your market. Most used luxury shoppers still begin the search with BMW, Mercedes, or Lexus, and that is exactly where the 2019 Volvo S90 slips through the cracks. It is one of those rare sedans that looks expensive before people even know what it is. Long, clean, elegant, almost architectural. Car and Driver praised the design inside and out, and Kelley Blue Book highlighted the huge rear seat space and upscale cabin feel. The real reason this car got overlooked is simple. It was too restrained for badge chasers and too niche for mainstream shoppers. It never begged for attention, so the market never rewarded it the way it rewards the usual German suspects. That is why the value feels strange in the best way. New, the S90 started just under $50,000 in base form, and today, Kelley Blue Book puts its 2019 S90 T6 Momentum right around $19,000. With other 2019 versions living roughly from the high teens into the low 20s. That is hidden gold when the car still presents like a proper executive sedan, and owners seem far happier than the resale curve suggests. KBB shows 93% recommendation on the 2019, Cars.com shows a 5 out of 5 reliability rating, and Car Complaints currently shows 0 reported problems for that model year. Mechanically, the T6 is the part that surprises people. It uses a 2.0-liter four-cylinder that is both turbocharged and supercharged, makes 316 horsepower, runs through an 8-speed automatic, and sends power to all 4 wheels. EPA fuel economy is about 21 city, 31 highway, 25 combined, and real owners do report mid-20s in mixed driving. So no, it is not slow, but it also does not feel like a sports sedan in the German sense. The whole point is effortless speed, quiet road manners, and that clean Scandinavian atmosphere that makes even ordinary errands feel a little more expensive than they are. The smart way to pitch it is not perfect. It is intelligently underpriced. Because there is a recall you need to respect. Volvo recalled certain 2019 to 2020 S90s after the low-pressure fuel pump fuse could blow, which could stall the engine and prevent restart. So on inspection, verify recall completion first, then do a full electronics walkthrough. Screen response, cameras, seat functions, driver assist features, everything. With a car like this, the ownership experience is the product. When it is right, the S90 feels like the kind of luxury sedan that got ignored only because it was too tasteful to advertise itself. And the final car on this list takes the opposite road to value. Less design drama, more forgotten American stealth wealth. Here is the adult pick on this list. The 2015 to 2016 Lincoln MKS is not trendy, not flashy, and not remotely interested in being either. It is the kind of car you buy when you want the ride to feel expensive and the purchase decision to feel rational. Kelley Blue Book practically hands you the pitch. The MKS offers all the big sedan comfort, quiet, features, and convenience you could want, especially if you care more about the actual experience than impressing neighbors with a prestigious badge. That line is the whole point of this car. Nobody brags about finding one. Smart buyers just quietly end up happy with it, and the market has discounted it so hard that it almost becomes funny. Kelley Blue Book puts a 2016 MKS at roughly $10,650, with the EcoBoost version around $14,250, and a standard 2016 car can sit under $10,000 in current resale value. Even 2015 cars are often living in the high single digits to low tens. That is a serious amount of sedan for not much money. The MKS is the stealth bargain here because almost nobody is still talking about it, which is exactly why the numbers now make sense. Mechanically, it is simpler than the Volvo and less image-driven than the Continental. Base cars use a 3.7-liter V6 with 305 horsepower and a 6-speed automatic. The EcoBoost steps up to a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 with 365 horsepower and standard all-wheel drive. Fuel economy is roughly 20 combined in the regular car and about 19 in the EcoBoost. So no, this is not the efficiency champ here. But that is not the buyer. The buyer is the person who wants to float to work, eat highway miles, and sit in something big, quiet, and loaded without spending real luxury sedan money. Now the honest part. This is not the safest ownership bet on the list. Owner sentiment is strong, with KBB showing 90% recommendation, and Cars.com consumers giving the 2016 MKS a 5 out of 5 reliability score. But RepairPal is much more moderate at 3.0 out of 5, and it pegs average annual repair costs around $886. So the smart play is service history first, ego second. Check recall completion, especially on EcoBoost cars, because Ford issued recall actions tied to potential engine stall risk in certain 3.5-liter GTDI vehicles, and there were also recall actions covering things like parking brake, engagement, and other build-specific issues on some 2015 to 2016 cars. Test the transmission carefully, make sure every interior electronic feature works, and buy the cleanest maintenance story you can find. Done right, the MKS is the perfect last example for this topic. Not glamorous, not fashionable, just wildly under-discussed value. And that is really the story right now. In a market where ordinary cars keep asking premium money, the smartest move is not always buying newer. Sometimes it is buying what everyone else stopped noticing. These cars were not cheap because they were worthless. They got cheap because the market moved on, the badges lost heat, and the resale never matched the experience. That is where the gold is. So before you overpay for something basic, remember what is still hiding in plain sight. And if you like this kind of real-world car buying breakdown, check out the next videos on the channel, because there are a lot more smart buys like these still out there.